Hello, and welcome to Reality TV News Update, where you'll find the most recent news, entertaining moments, and exclusive behind-the-scenes content. Amid unbearable stress, many turn to reality shows for comfort, using others' dramas as a way to regulate emotions and preserve mental stability. The need to escape reality. 2.5 weeks of direct fighting with Iran, accompanied by non-stop missile attacks and the closure of airspace, have led the Israeli public to a state of chronic fatigue and extreme stress. Reality shows provide a necessary escape in a situation where every phone alert causes anxiety, allowing the brain to switch the battlefield for a familiar and predictable television arena. The psychology behind choosing light content reveals that this is a fully fledged survival mechanism intended to prevent mental collapse under the burden of security events and concern for casualties on the ground. Israel is in the midst of a turbulent security period, and for 16 days, routine has been colored with war with Iran. The daily routine now includes rushing to bomb shelters, airspace is closed, and there are constant reports of casualties and missile attacks. Within this complex reality, an interesting phenomenon can be observed on television screens. The demand for reality shows is rising dramatically. The mind tries to forget about anxiety by immersing itself in the world of other people who are dealing with issues that are light years away from the front lines of the military, while the body is alert and constantly looking for signs of danger. The temptation to watch and escape for temporary relief is very understandable, as in times of emergency, our evolutionary survival system works overtime. Yael Efrati, a medical psychologist at Asuta Hospital in Haifa, explains that the body maintains high alertness, and this is an extremely exhausting process. While under normal circumstances we can relax at the end of the day with strong stimuli capturing our attention, in a prolonged crisis like the one we are currently experiencing, alertness turns into chronic stress. We simply collapse onto the couch in search of something that will quiet the white noise of war as the emotional load becomes unbearably heavy. Choosing to watch a reality show is not evidence of disconnecting from the outside world in the face of war after war. Rather, it can act as a means of emotional regulation. Reality shows offer the dramas of others that evoke empathy or disgust in us, but they do not threaten our emotional stability. According to Efrati, regular eliminations, the announcement of the winner, and the predetermined ending create an island of certainty within the general chaos, providing a temporary sense of order in a world where missiles can strike at any time and control has been lost. This is a distraction that makes it possible for healthy repression, in which one can experience everyday emotions that are simply unavailable in emergency situations. Long-running academic studies, such as the classic 1991 study by psychologist Susan Nolan Hoeksema, back up this mechanism's benefits. According to the findings of her research, controlled distraction helps break the cycle of obsessive thoughts and allows the mind's resources to recover from trauma, while constant reflection on negative past events worsens anxiety and depression. The brain has been looking for the simplest way to lower cortisol levels in the body in recent days, as sleep declines and stress rises. Watching reality TV requires very low cognitive effort, allowing the nervous system to rest from constant risk management. Reality shows, in contrast to news broadcasts that feature threat graphs and missile strike maps, present an alternate reality in which the most pressing issue is who will cook dinner or who will win immunity. The mind needs this simplicity to avoid becoming overwhelmed by difficult news. Efrati emphasizes that it is essential to recognize the fine line between rest and avoidance, despite the fact that this content is occasionally regarded as superficial.
However, its functional role during times of war is extremely significant for maintaining national resilience. When it serves as an escape that delays necessary emotional processing or interferes with functioning at home and at work, distraction becomes problematic. In the long run, escapism may actually make anxiety worse rather than better when watching television takes the place of social and family interactions. It is normal for the brain to look for light content to get out of survival mode, but we should use this distraction as a way to get back to reality and not as a permanent replacement. It is suggested that you combine relaxing viewing with other activities that help you be resilient during this time. Emotional regulation requires engaging in physical activity whenever possible, eating well, and cultivating close human connections. Because nighttime alarms impair the immune and mental systems, it is important to make the most of every opportunity to unwind in front of a screen. Ultimately, the ability to laugh at the absurdities of a reality show participant while a war unfolds outside is proof of the vitality of the human spirit and our basic need for normalcy, even if it is artificial and projected on a flat screen. Data show that entertainment ratings actually spike during days of combat, and not just because the public is home more. There is a physiological need for a brain reset, and for some people, watching a reality show can be as helpful as doing breathing exercises. Seeing characters on screen dealing with trivial matters reminds us that there is a world beyond the bomb shelter, a world where problems are small and solvable. This is an essential pressure valve that allows us to continue functioning, care for our families, and get through another day of security uncertainty. The quick transition between reports of missile attacks and reality show commercials may be jarring within this, but for many it is a mental lifeline that enables them to endure this war while maintaining their mental health. We must accept this impulse without judging it and understand that sometimes escaping a painful reality is the most effective strategy for surviving.
The television's soft hum was the only sound in the living room. Thursday night was ritual night. As the familiar theme of Big Brother filled the room, Sam sank into the couch with a bowl of popcorn carefully balanced on their lap. Maya was doing the same thing across the city, but this time she was glued to The Amazing Race, her heart racing even before the contestants left the starting line. Their minds were about to embark on two very different journeys, though neither of them was aware of it. The lights in Sam's brain flickered on like a control room coming to life. "All right, everyone," announced the prefrontal cortex, straightening imaginary glasses. "Social strategy incoming." The amygdala eagerly leant forward. "Drama? Please inform me that there is drama." The hippocampus muttered, "Oh, there's always drama," as it skimmed through recollections of previous episodes in which alliances were torn apart, secrets were revealed, and betrayals were whispered in the dark. Two houseguests argued in the kitchen on the screen. Voices erupted. Accusations flew. "Yes!" shouted the amygdala, lighting up. "Emotional tension detected." Sam's brain went through a flurry of activity almost immediately. The amygdala processed the conflict as if it were happening in real life. Heart rate ticked up slightly. A small amount of tension was felt in the muscles. "Stay calm," the prefrontal cortex said. "We are observers rather than participants." "Tell that to the mirror neurons," the amygdala snapped. Sure enough, the mirror neurons were already firing, mimicking the emotions on screen. Despite being by himself on a couch, Sam felt irritated, suspicious, and even a hint of rage. "Fascinating," whispered the hippocampus. "This makes me think of the argument from the previous season. And, oh, that one real lifetime when someone lied to us." Connections were built, new stimuli mixed with old memories. As alliances shifted in the episode, the prefrontal cortex got busy. "Let's analyze," it said. "Who's lying? Who's trustworthy? What would we do?" Sam leaned forward unconsciously, fully engaged.
The brain's reward chemical, dopamine, appeared like a flash. A sliver of contentment was released with each new development, every clever move, every unexpected vote, and so on. Prediction confirmed. When Sam correctly predicted a betrayal, dopamine cheered. The plot twist! Dopamine shouted even louder when Sam was wrong. The brain was hooked in any case. Across the city, Maya's brain was experiencing something entirely different. Everyone, positions! As the amazing race began, the motor cortex barked. The screen exploded with movement. Contestants sprinting, taxis honking, planes taking off. "Action overdrive!" screamed the visual cortex, which was working hard to process sudden changes. The cerebellum made a comment. "Coordination simulation engaged. We are imagining climbing, running, and navigating." Maya's body didn't move, but her brain didn't know. It fired as if she were part of the race. "Go, go, go!" screamed into the amygdala, this time driven more by excitement than tension. Her heart rate increased slightly, not from stress, but from exhilaration. Quickly analyzing, the prefrontal cortex said, "Look at that challenge. We'd choose the other route, faster and more effective." "It's too late," laughed dopamine, as contestants struggled through a roadblock. Excitement equals uncertainty. A small reward was triggered at each checkpoint. A rush was delivered by each close finish. Adrenaline simulation. The body's subtle physical responses were coordinated by the hypothalamus, which chimed in. Maya gripped the edge of her seat. "Why are we nervous?" The logical brain voiced its concerns. The amygdala, in response, said, "Because it feels real, and that is sufficient." Back in Sam's living room, Big Brother reached its climax. The house guests gathered. A vote was cast. "Moment of truth," whispered the hippocampus. They held Sam's breath. The host announced, "Evicted." "What?" The amygdala burst open. Again, dopamine surged, blending shock, surprise, and contentment. "Unexpected outcome," noted the prefrontal cortex, "rethinking social models." "Store this," said the hippocampus, filing away the emotional impact. "We'll keep this twist in mind." Sam leaned back, mind buzzing, not just entertained, but mentally exercised. Meanwhile, Maya watched as two teams raced toward the finish line. "Final sprint," the motor cortex yelled. Every stumble and desperate effort to advance were tracked by the visual cortex. "Who's going to win?" The amygdala almost vibrated with anticipation when it asked. The prefrontal cortex came to the conclusion that probability favors Team A. "Emotion favors chaos," dopamine replied with a grin. The finish line became apparent. Feet pounded. There were shouts. "Second place," the host declared. Maya jumped up from the couch. "Yes!" Despite the fact that she had not actually moved a single inch, a wave of triumphant dopamine swept through her brain. The brain said, "Content, victory experienced." Sam and Maya both slept through the night, staring at the ceiling from their beds. Their brains were replaying everything, even though their bodies were still. Sam's mind revisited conversations, analyzing motives, predicting future alliances. The prefrontal cortex stated, "Social learning. We've gotten used to reading people." Maya's brain, on the other hand, replayed routes, challenges, and split-second decisions. "Spatial awareness," the cerebellum noted, "problem-solving under pressure." Although in different ways, both brains had been deeply engaged. Empathy, memory, and social reasoning had been made active by Big Brother. It made the brain simulate relationships, trust, deception, skills rooted in human interaction. The amazing race had triggered sensory processing, motor simulation, and rapid decision-making. It made the brain feel movement, urgency, exploration. Different shows, different routes, same result. A brain fully alive. In the stillness of the night, the amygdala finally relaxed. In Sam's head, it sighed, "No more drama." In Maya's, it yawned, "No more racing." Dopamine dimmed its glow. The prefrontal cortex powered down. "Good work today." Because whether watching strategy unfold in a house full of strangers or racing across the globe from the comfort of a couch, the brain didn't just watch. It was involved. It anticipated. It felt. And in its own way, it lived every moment.